Go ahead, honey.
Well, hello everybody. Thank you for tuning in for Teed Up. We're doing a special edition on tonight because it is our anniversary weekend. Our anniversary is tomorrow. So we're going to do something a little different. Today we're going to talk about the Spears. I have Mr. Curtis Spears, my husband of 35 years. Today, here with me. Honey, what do you want to say to the people?
Well, I'm so excited to have you guys join in with us on this evening. I hope you have something excited planned for your significant other. You know, on Friday nights, this is the time when we have our typically have our date night or do something with each other. So hopefully you have something planned for your wife or something planned for your husband. Don't just let them come home and do nothing. You know, that's the easy thing to do, but it takes some effort to make things pop.
So again, tonight, like I said, tomorrow is our anniversary. So I thought we'll talk about how we met and give you talk about us on tonight. Tell some funny stories from our past, how we met, and just a little history on the Spears. So we're gonna start off. But first, I want y'all to go to our YouTube page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's Teed Up Marriage, and then on Instagram and Facebook, it's Teed Up HTX. Like and share our page. Subscribe on YouTube. Again, I'm trying to increase our subscribers, so go there and subscribe to our Teed Up Marriage podcast page.
And you know, Susie, after 35 years, you know that you have to go way back to kind of talk about a lot of the things that we've encountered and the things that we experienced throughout our history. But 35
years.
yeah,
That's a
35
long
years.
time, sir.
But it was very interesting how my wife and I met and how we have grown over these years. You got to remember, it takes three to make a marriage successful. That's you and your wife and the Lord. You have to, I can't stress that enough. How important it is to keep God in your marriage and put God first in your marriage, because if you don't, it's already the Bible said that marriage is trouble in the flesh, and so if you don't have any, if I can't give you anything else to say to give you tonight, I want you to remember that it's critically important for you to keep the architect of marriage in your marriage and take his advice over everyone else's advice.
Well, thank you for that nugget, Mr. Spears. So tonight, I'm going to ask you a few questions about, we've been married for 35 years. And so let's talk about how we met. Usually when you ask couples that question, you have two or three versions of it. So tell the people how you met your sweet, fine wife.
Well, she was hounding me as normal.
See,
We start
sounds
off
like we need
that.
sound like we need a second story.
Okay, now we were neighbors. We were very young, immature at the time. A lot of time when you first get together or you first meet somebody, it's not because you're in love. It's because a lot of times you're in lust. But at the same time,
Exactly.
we lived in the apartment complex. My parents lived upstairs, and her parents lived downstairs.
And wait a minute. Don't just skip over that part.
Okay.
Tell them about the knock knock.
Oh yeah.
So, give them the story. We're talking
whenever
about us tonight.
whenever my wife wanted me to come and patronize her, come down to see her. We had a code, a signal that she would, I lived upstairs and she lived downstairs, so she would take the broom handle and hit on the roof, and that would tell me come downstairs. So that's how a lot of times how we communicated. When she wanted me to come down, or if I wanted her to come up, I'll stomp on the floor so she knows to come upstairs. So that was some of the ways we would communicate with each other. But we lived in the same apartment complex, and she was 17, and I think I was 20. I was 20 at the time when we first met, and when we got married, I was 21, and she was 17. She was 17, about to turn 18.
I was 17, you were 21, right.
No, when we met,
When we got married.
When we got married, I was 21.
Right.
So we have a lot of history together. We didn't. Everybody thought that our marriage would end up roughly because we were so young, and
And just, I mean, just to think about it, 17 to 20, that is pretty young to be getting married. So you would think, yeah, they probably won't be together that long. And we got together, we didn't know anything about marriage. We just
Yeah.
was getting together,
We-
not knowing if it would last this long or not. But God,
Exactly. Like I said, when God intervened in our lives,
It made the difference.
It made the difference. It changed the course or the trajectory of what would typically be a divorce real soon. It's something that, someone getting married that young, typically they typically wouldn't last 2 or 3 years.
no.
But again, when you put God as the head of your relationship, and
It makes the difference.
it makes a difference. Not saying that there's not going to be problems, but if you let the Word of God be your final authority, then I believe that you can be successful in your relationship.
So tell them about my dad. What the conversation about? You always telling people about the offering that he gave you when we talked about when you telling about getting married.
Oh yeah, I was telling her. In the beginning, her father didn't know me, and that's with any father. Fathers are protective of their daughters, and so I understood later. I didn't understand at the time when I wanted to marry my wife how her dad was adamantly against it. He didn't know me. He only knew of me, and he knew where I came from. A lot of times, us as fathers, we look at the person who our daughter choose, and we prejudge them
Based on the outer.
based on where they're from, who they are, who they look to be. But most people can't. They have no control over where they are, as young people. But they can control or where they come from, but they can control where they're going.
Right.
And so, over the process of time, my father-in-law, he became very fond of me. He really started liking me, and he didn't, as an African-American male, he didn't have much, but whatever he had, he had a vegetable garden out in the back, and although he didn't have much to give me, he would gather up a bunch of vegetables after we got a little bit
Years down the line.
Yeah, years down the line when he got a chance to know me and saw that I was taking very good care of his daughter. He began to, he grew a garden, and he would pick the greens, and he would pick the peppers and all of the tomatoes, and when I come over, he would have something to give me. So that was very inspiring on his part for me. He really started to like me, and I had a chance to really share some time with him, lead him in prayer to the Lord. And before he left this world, I believe that he embraced Christ as his Lord and Savior. I even had an opportunity to see him transition from this life to the next life. So that was something that was very touching. I would never, it was incredible to see that happen. But at the same time, my father-in-law, he was a good man.
He became fond of you later.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then what's funny about when you have to get marriage license, you have to be a certain age. So at the time, my mom had to go with us to get the license in order for us to get married.
Right.
And so I thought that was kind of funny. I just wanted to mention that about
Absolutely.
my mom having to sign for us to go, for me to be able to get married. But yeah, so like he said, we were 17 and 21, and we got married, not knowing anything about married, not in love. I know for me, I just wanted to get out the house and try to be grown. And for my husband, he felt like he wanted to do the right thing by God. And so we decided to say, hey, let's do it.
Let's do it.
And we did it. And tomorrow will be our anniversary, 35 years. We have 4 children, 4 grandchildren. And we are friends. Our kids love us. They love being around us. Grandchildren the same. Can't seem to get rid of them. They always want to come over to Gigi house, Papa house. So, but God has blessed us. So, What is something that you would tell the people? What was coming up as a young couple? What was maybe you think a challenge? One of the challenges that we may face back in the day.
Well, I think one of the most critical pieces within the relationship is one, you got to get to know your partner. When I say one, I'm sorry, you want to say?
I would say a challenge that a challenge that we faced coming up in the relationship.
Okay, one of the challenges we faced in our relationship was integrated blended family. My wife, she had a daughter when we first got married, and so you have to contend with different elements within the relationship. But in the beginning, it was kind of like a strain on our relationship. But through the process of time, God helped us to understand how to go about handling certain situations, and that way it wouldn't frustrate us as much. But blended families are something that you really have to pay close attention to, because it can really break down a marriage or relationship, especially if you don't know how to deal with the other. They call it in our culture, they call it the baby mama drama, or the daddy drama. Yeah. No. So you have to know how to contend with
those, so you don't have that type of drama.
Exactly. So
or even with you, when you new come into the family, talk about your in-laws or outlaws, if you want to call them that. I know you have to be unified when it comes to that, because we had like one situation where I'm his wife now, and so he had to put certain boundaries in place with his parents his mom and sisters and stuff like that.
Because moms and sisters can still be protective, and I was the youngest of the brothers, and so my sisters and my mother, they were very protective of me. But with that being said, I have to let my parents and my sisters know, listen, I'm not the little brother or the little son. I'm your son, but I'm not the little son. I'm your brother, but not the little brother. This
is my wife.
This is my wife
you
now.
Have to treat her a certain way.
Exactly. So you have to respect my wife as my wife now, and you have to respect me as your son, but also as her husband, and as your brother, but as her husband. So those things are critically important. You have
setting boundaries.
You have to set. You have to set boundaries. Absolutely. You have to set boundaries within the relationship from the beginning. And if you don't establish boundaries and principles in the beginning, then you're going to constantly have situations that flare up in your relationship that will cause tension and hostility within your home. So
even with your mom, if you're a son that's coming, you got married now, and you maybe used to help with your mom a whole lot. You maybe used to take care of your mom, and now you have a wife, so you won't be able to do as much as you used to do for mom, because you have your own family now, and that could cause tensions in the relationship, or cause mom to feel a certain type of way. So you just have to kind of set those boundaries as well.
Yeah.
Let mom know, you have a new family. I can't help
you
as much as I used to.
Understanding mother should already know this, but sometimes you have that problem where the mother will feel like she's being pushed to the side, and and men, you don't want your mother to feel pushed to the side. You just got to know how to thread that needle. You have to know how to use a fine, and instead of using a hacksaw to sever the relationship, you have to be like a skilled surgeon to know how to navigate through who your mom is and who your wife is.
And it's a different dynamic now.
Absolutely. And so you want to be very careful, because you don't want to offend your mother, but at the same time, you don't want to offend your wife. You want to make for sure there's a balance in there, so that your wife can feel loved and protected, and your mother, because the Bible tells us very clearly for us to honor our parents. And so you don't honor your parents by abandoning them. You honor them by by keeping the balance in order. So you got to know how to treat your mother, but at the same time, when the Bible says, "For this cause does a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife," it doesn't mean abandon them. It means that there has to be
your wife is priority now.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But you also have to don't forsake your mother and your father. You just got to know how to thread that needle just right, so everybody can still feel connected.
Right. Yeah. And then when you were saying, I was thinking about one time when sometimes your parents, you're young, getting married, and you have kids, and the parents want to tell you how to raise the kids, and you should do this and you should do that. You have to kind of talk about a situation like that where you had to kind of walk the fine line with that. I remember one situation with Shakita, where my mom wanted to tell us what she should wear this and she shouldn't wear this. At the time,
Right.
we didn't want her to wear pants at the time.
Right.
We were newly saved, and we didn't have a good understanding, and so we were thinking that we shouldn't be wearing pants, only dresses for women.
Right.
So kind of talk about that a little bit.
Right. So a lot
the
of
scenario.
a lot of times when you're newly married, parents have a tendency to want to hold on to their child
Or
and
giving
still
advice.
and not only give advice, and not just I don't call it advice. They still want to assert authority over their child, and so the parent have to understand that, okay, they're your child, but now they're an adult. And so now the same thing that you used to demand out of them, you have to ask now. You can't demand certain things out of an adult. You have to know how to ask, and then also you have to know how to when you trying to give advice, you have to be very careful when you're trying to give your opinion in the matter, especially when it comes down to raising their children. They're the parent now. You were their parent. You're not the grandchild parent. So although you have some influence, but for the most part, those parents are the ones who's responsible for raising that child up in the admonition and fear of God. So we have to have a kind of like a hands-off approach when it comes down to the rules and the regulations that's being established by the new family.
Right. So pertaining to the grandchildren.
Yes.
Yeah. So kind of you have to again put boundaries.
Absolutely. There has to be boundaries in the relationship, because again it can create friction.
But I want you to talk about the story, the scenario what I was telling you about with her and the dresses.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the story?
Yeah, we was holier than thou at the time, and so when we first got married and we got saved, we were in a church that strictly prohibited girls wearing dresses, which
sanctified church.
Yeah, we call it exactly. And so at the time, we didn't have a very good understanding. We were just following authority, and so we didn't allow our daughters to wear pants. They only were allowed to wear dresses. Mm-hmm. And so
Christmas time.
The grandparents bought certain clothes. Although they knew what our position, they felt that they could assert their authority and still interject what they wanted to have done. And me as a man, I wasn't having it. I said, no, this is what we're going to do. And so again, that can create hostility and create division.
But you come together and talk with the parents and get a good understanding.
Yes.
Everything is done in certain, decently in order. You just not being rude, and you go and sit down and talk and say, hey, this is what we're doing. You have to respect it. And as a parent, a grandparent, you have to respect that.
And so, just to wrap this up on this end, my mother-in-law in the beginning, she opposed me in certain areas because I was strict in with like a military type strictness, but at the end of the day, before my mother-in-law left here, my mother-in-law she was the president of some apartments, and anytime any dignitary or anybody would come into the city, she would right away introduce them to me. This is my son-in-law, and da-da-da. So she thought very highly of me, once she really understood my position. And, when one of the things I remember my mother-in-law saying about myself is that she said that she was talking with some people, and she was conveying that my son-in-law right here, he's not the same person that married my daughter. So what that spoke to the transition. Yes, that she saw the transition that God had done in my life, because I was straight hood. I was straight from the streets, as they say. I was from the streets. And she knew that. And so before she passed, she made that declaration. This is not the same man that married my daughter, because, the Lord knows how to change you and transition you. We're being transformed into the image of his son. And so she's seen the difference in my life. And that's how we ended with her.
Yeah. So, yeah, you have to set boundaries with your parents, and you communicate in love, and they'll respect you for that. And
Absolutely.
like he said, they had a great relationship. She loved him. He was her favorite son-in-law.
And she would, all I had to do, I'll come home. Sometimes my wife don't be done cooking. My mother-in-law be in the kitchen cooking my dinner for me. So, she was a wonderful mother-in-law. Well, throughout my life, she always tried to help us in the capacity that she could.
Yep.
So,
she always say, I'm gonna buy my son-in-law a church when I get the money. I'm gonna buy him a church.
She was adamant about that. She really, really looked up to, well, I don't want to say look up to me, but she really respected me very highly. So I appreciate her and her life and what God allowed us to experience with her. Yeah. So that's a blessing to have in-laws who really respect you. Even my sister-in-laws, they love me, all of them. Her sisters, one of them is a member of my church. And the other one, she's gonna eventually come. It's a process. So we just thank God for them.
Yeah. So now let's talk about your lovely wife.
Okay.
So why do you laugh like that?
Okay, what do you want me to get that knife out of my side?
Let me see.
She got this shotgun interview on me tonight. All right, what you want me to?
So tell the people about your wife down through the years. The progress you've seen your wife made. Like you said, I was 17 when we got married.
Yeah, so
now I'm 51. So let's talk about
one of the things
part
that I'm really impressed by is when I first met my wife, we were so young. My wife didn't have very good cooking skills.
I didn't know how to cook anything.
She didn't really know how to cook, and I was a little older than her, and my mother, I would be in the kitchen with my mother, and my mother would show me some of her techniques for making gravy, rice, and I could cook just about anything when we got married, and I had to teach my.
Don't be saying that, but just about anything, sir.
Well, I could play around with it. I wasn't.
Okay, come on now, get to.
Well, I wasn't.
He taught me how to make some cornbread. And he taught me how to fry chicken.
I taught her how to make gravy.
One time, he taught me how to make gravy. One time I fried some chicken, and I thought the chicken was done. Baby, chicken was burned up on the outside and inside was bloody.
And that's a process.
But that was all a part of the learning process. And then one time I made some gravy. And the gravy, it was doing what it was supposed to do. It was thickening up, but I didn't know that. So I kept pouring it out. But I had to do just keep adding water and stirring it until it got to the right consistency. But hey, I didn't know. I'm 17 or 18, whatever. I'm trying to learn how to cook for my new husband. But glory be to God, 35 years later,
she know how to make gravy pretty good.
Matter of fact, and everything.
As a matter of fact, she's like a chef now. I could just tell her what I want to eat. And I remember one time I went to the Pho restaurant. It's PHO. Some people call it Pho. Some people call it Pho. I went there, and I got such a lousy service, and I told I came home and I was pretty upset with it, and I told my wife, listen, I was trying to get some of the pho, and the lady had a bad attitude. So when people have bad attitude, I don't like to eat mad food, and so I told my wife I would like to eat some of that pho, but they had a bad attitude, and she said, well, what's in it? And she went on the internet or wherever she went and got the recipe and made it better than the fireplace. And so, that's the kind of chef she has become. What I want to say to some men, God does not give you a ready-made wife. Don't stop thinking that she's ready-made and everything. No. She knows everything. She's never been married before. And then there are some who have been married, but yet haven't developed the skill set to become that wife that you need her to be.
Patient with her.
Exactly. You have to be patient with her.
Patient with each other.
Yeah, God does not give you a ready-made wife. You have to work with her. You have to help mold her. Don't nobody know what type of wife you want, men. So if you get a woman, you have to help her to become that wife and not be so quick to throw her away because she haven't developed into that woman who you thought she should have been by now. Be patient with her, vice versa. The women, you don't need to throw away a good man and you get him halfway ready and then you throw him away and the other woman come and reap the benefits. See, that's what we have to contend with. Ignorance. You know, the Lord say, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge and they err because they don't know the scripture. See, you got to understand, you can't be so ignorant, so gullible till you get a woman halfway ready or a man halfway ready, and then you, through some reason that you got frustrated, you end up releasing them or divorcing them, and now you have to start all over again with somebody new. And you know, Susan and I, we've gone through different situations in our life, but we did not allow setbacks and disappointments to cause us to divorce. That's the easy way out, Susan.
No, you got to work together for the
Good
outcome,
yeah.
for the outcome that you expect. You
Exactly.
don't just throw them away.
Exactly.
So now we was talking about with the cooking and stuff. You gave an example about that. So of course, you know, I was young, like you said, and I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to cook anything, but it was all a part of the process. You know, we learned together, we grow together. And you know, we're friends now. We, like he said, I could cook almost just about anything. I can taste certain things and tell what's in it and go home and make it. But again, that was a learning process. You had to be patient along the way. And you know, he hadn't always been so patient. But again, that was all part of the process. We worked together.
Absolutely. I left off this in interesting part. I remember I used to when I first got married, and my wife, you know, she couldn't cook. And you know, I would be very critical of her food and the way it tastes. I would call it garbage. I said, "What is this junk? This is no."
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
But see that was immature me, not understanding her effort. You know, she's trying to become a wife, and I'm not helping the process by not being patient, not understanding that she was very young. And so, unfortunately, I was immature, and I didn't really know how to react. I just act out of my emotions when I had something before me. It's kind of like right now. Some of you are still immature. You go to the restaurant and the food is not right. What do? You get upset and you call it whatever you want to call it. But see, you got to understand marriage is a process. And no one is married ready. Whenever someone gets
on the job training.
Exactly, that's exactly what marriage is. It's on the job training. And so you have to learn. You have to understand who you're working with. The Bible says that we got to know them that we labor among. So if you know you have an inexperienced wife, but yet you expect maturity out of her in that, and she's not there yet, you're going to be frustrated. You're going to be frustrated.
Be patient till she get there.
Exactly. You have to learn to be patient. That's one of the fruits of the Spirit. You have to be patient with your wife, and you women have to be patient with your husband. You know, me as a man, I was very short-tempered. And so I would blow off steam in the beginning, you know.
So you had to ask God for some patience.
Exactly. So now, you know, I know how to hold my peace and let the Lord fight my battles. You don't have to be you don't have to be hostile toward your wife just because they don't know or they haven't reached that level of maturity yet.
So it's all a process. It's on the job training. You learning together. When you're in a marriage.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, I just wanted to come on here and just talk a little bit about us, because like I said, tomorrow is our 35th anniversary, and so I just wanted to come on here and talk about us on tonight. We're gonna before we close out.
Let me say this right here to those of you that are listening. We have a wonderful marriage podcast called TDDUP. Till death do you part. And what my wife and I want to do, we want to solicit your support. We would even like for you to become a part of our Teed Up Marriage podcast. we have very interesting topics that we believe that can help aid you in your relationship, in your family life. God has given us wisdom beyond our years, because we have both a theological understanding of marriage and also an experimental piece that will help aid us in aiding you to help your marriage to stay together. It's a tragedy, Susie, that statistically speaking, marriages are failing in America and all around the world. Yep. So if God has given us some insight and wisdom on how to help aid you, I think it would be in your best interest to get in touch with us. We, like my wife said, go ahead, honey, give them our website again so that they would connect with us and be a part of what we're doing here.
So
on my podcast.
We have we're on all the social media platforms. On YouTube, it's Teed Up Marriage. On YouTube, subscribe and hit that bell so you'll get notified every time we go live. And then also we have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and it's Teed Up HTX on all 3 platforms. So go there, like and share our page. Tell a friend about it. Grab your bae, your boo. You know what I always say. Tell them you want to be teed up on Friday nights. We meet every Friday night online, and then we have an in-house session as well. And that's one Friday we're online, and the other Friday we're in-house. So if you want to be a part of the in-house teed up session, inbox me and we can give you more details. We also have a couples retreat that's coming up in February. If you and your spouse want to be a part of that, we can give you more information on that. Inbox us as well and then the website is imageministrieshtx.com. It's the Contact Us tab there. Hit that and we will respond to you if you send any inquiries there. So that's all we have for tonight. I just wanted to give a little highlight since tomorrow is our 35th anniversary. Happy anniversary, honey.
Happy anniversary to you. God bless you.
So we're going to go ahead and shut it down because
we'll
we have a ladies session on tonight.
All right. Well, God bless you is our prayer. We'll see you next time.